Hi, welcome to our Yin practice. For today's practice, you're going to want to make sure you are in some comfy, cozy clothes, things that you feel really good and comfortable moving in. We will be holding these poses anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes at about 70% edge, so feeling comfortable is the most important part. We will also be using 2 blocks. You are welcome to use thick, sturdy books or shoe boxes as well. I have a blanket here and a bolster or just a pillow from your bed works absolutely fine. We'll get started actually in a hero's pose. So making your way towards your knees, using the blanket. I already have it right below my seat because that feels better on my knees. And then I bring one block lengthwise between my heels. So taking a little time, settling in here, and then check in with your body. If this stretch feels too intense, particularly on your knees, you can bring in a second block, lift your seat a little bit higher, gives yourself a little more space, or you can always adjust the setting. So instead of having it on the lowest, you can go to that medium setting. Just taking some time, settling into that posture. Once you've found the shape, the props, positions, the way that feels best for you, just allow your eyes to soften or close. Maybe pull your shoulders up towards your ears and then slide them down your back. Palms can rest in your lap. Then allow your body and mind to settle into stillness. Bringing awareness back to your breath. Noticing your chest rise and fall with your inhales and exhales. Then using your next round of breath, you can rock yourself forward to hands and knees, removing that block. And I'll come to this side so you can see this a little better. Keeping your knees supported on the blanket, we'll come to a plantar stretch. So my back toes are tucked here, seated on my heels. This is called our toe stand in Yin. Now, if this feels too intense on the soles of your feet, bring that block between your heels once more, lift your seat and bring a little pressure off of your heels. If that's still too intense, you can keep your toes tucked but come to a tabletop position. So just getting a little stretch along the soles of the feet. We won't be here quite as long as the last posture, but giving yourself, your mind, time to settle in. If it starts to wander, maybe checking back in with your breath, counting those inhales and exhales. A really solid count for me is typically 4 counts for an inhale, 6 counts for an exhale. Use your next round of breath here. Gently rock forward, untuck your toes, and then come to sit on your heels in a thunderbolt position. This is our ankle stretch. This counter stretch always feels really good because that plantar stretch is pretty intense for me. So again, sitting here, if this feels good, you can start to walk your hands behind you, shifting your weight. Your knees might lift off the mat, giving yourself a little more of a counter stretch. Here for just a moment. And then pressing forward once more. Now we'll come to one of our few standing kind of postures here. We'll come to a dangle pose, so moving that blanket out of your way. Feet to the mat, giving yourself some time here. Just coming to a forward fold. Arms can hang heavy, or if it feels better in your body, you can grab opposite elbow to opposite hand to opposite elbow. We'll be here for just about 2 minutes. You're welcome to stay here in stillness, or in some bodies it can feel really good to gently sway back and forth, just finding what feels best for you. As we get closer to releasing out of this posture, I like to bring those sways back into my body, maybe a little bigger than I was doing before. And then generous bend to your knees. I put both my hands under my feet, gently giving yourself almost a little massage here with your toes, reversing that. Then leaving your hands out, sink down, and we'll make our way towards Malasana. So for this, you'll likely want a block, possibly 2. I put mine at the medium setting. You can do medium, lowest, or stack 2 blocks. Just make sure it's at this wider stance so that you have a little more space to sit. Press both feet into the mat. Palms pressed together. Heart lifts, so you're pulling your chest towards your thumbs. Crown of the head reaches towards the sky. Now check in with your body here. If this doesn't feel good, if it's too intense or just isn't available, you're welcome to take a butterfly shape. Very, very similar benefits. So finding what feels best for you. Allowing your eyes to soften or close. Body and mind settle into stillness. Lifting the crown of your head a little taller. Take another full inhale and exhale here. And then gently shifting your weight, you can remove that block. We'll come to a dragon pose. So again, giving yourself permission to move slow between postures. Very different from our other yoga practices. You'll set up 2 blocks. I prefer mine to start on the medium setting. I might change them. And then hands come to those blocks, starting in almost like an elevated tabletop. And then keeping your left knee, left top of the foot on the mat. Bring right foot in between your blocks here. So setting up for a lunge position. Might inch your left knee back just a little bit, finding that edge. If this height feels good for the blocks, keep them right here. If it's a little too intense and you need more space, lifting, or you can lower them to their lowest setting or remove them altogether. Once you've settled in, you're staying active in this posture, pressing your chest away from the blocks, away from the mat, but still allow your eyes to soften here. Staying active as you settle into the pose. If your mind starts to wander, just nudging it back towards practice. Maybe inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 6. Whatever works best for you. Then shifting your knee back, right knee meets left. Pausing here for just a moment. I like to sink my hips back a little bit, stretching my arms forward. Then rocking back to that elevated tabletop. This time left knee comes between your hands. Maybe inch that right knee back. Adjust your blocks as you need to. Remember, our sides aren't symmetrical, and that's okay. Once you've found the shape that feels best for you, keeping that heart lifted, eyes can soften or close, settling into the pose on this side. Bringing awareness back into the pose. Shifting that left knee back this time. Taking that hips to heels, reach your fingertips forward variation. Just giving yourself a moment here. Then rocking forward. We'll come to a butterfly shape. Now, you do have the option to return to Malasana, like I mentioned earlier, very similar benefits, if that feels best for you. I'm gonna take butterfly. I'll be seated on a blanket. If you want a little more space, you can sit on your bolster. Pull your heels in towards your body, and then start to lift the crown of your head before gently hinging forward. Now for me, this is about my edge. This is as far as I can go. If you'd like to come deeper, you're welcome to. But reminding yourself we're going to about 70% and holding that shape. So you can allow your spine to round, allow your head to be heavy here. If you need a little support under your knees, you can slide your blocks under there just to bring a little extra support. Checking back in with your breath. Giving yourself time here to move slowly. You can start to lift your head, lift your heart back out of that posture. Then bring your knees together. Hands can come behind your hips. Just windshield wiper back and forth for a few moments. And then we'll shift into a child's pose. So for this round of child's pose, bringing maybe that blanket with you. If it feels good to have it under your knees, you like a little extra cushioning, that is great. I like to roll mine up into a little burrito and then I put it behind my heels, giving myself a little extra space there, and then walk my hands forward as far as feels good, resting my forehead on the mat. Again, take some time, set up your props, adjust yourself as you need to. And then when you find a pose that feels good, eyes soften or close, settling in. Allowing yourself to take time here. Gently start to press yourself back up to a seated position. Moving just nice and slow, removing any props. We'll set up for Sphinx pose. Now this, you have a few options here. I like to bring the blanket under where about my hips are gonna be on the mat, just simply because it feels good. No real yogi reason. Then also I bring the bolster right under about where my rib cage is gonna be. Now, come down like a seal apparently. Now this either feels really good or it really doesn't. So just checking in with your body, maybe trying that bolster. If it feels good, leaving it there. If it doesn't, letting it go. And then finding your version of Sphinx. You can be here where you have your elbows stacked under your shoulders, heart lifted. If this is too intense for your low back, you can stack knuckles, rest your forehead there, or even bring a block under your forehead and rest your forehead. So again, just finding the shape, the variation, feels best. No zinging or pinching in that low back. Scan the low body for anywhere where you can release. And then settling in. Give yourself 3 more slow rounds of breath in this pose. And when that's complete for you, if you have the bolster there, you can gently remove it. Come to stacked hands, resting your forehead there. Then gently bend both knees and then windshield wiper, heels drop side to side, releasing that low back. Lengthening the legs once more. Then press into your palms. We'll make our way back to a child's pose once more. This time we'll take a slightly different variation with our arms. So setting up your props in the way that you prefer it. Knees as wide as feels good for you. Then first walk your hands forward, rest your forehead there. And then play with bringing your hands back by your heels. This can give a nice break for our shoulders. But if it doesn't feel good for any reason, you can walk your hands back out. Allowing your body to be heavy here as we come to stillness in the pose. Not rushing or forcing anything. Wait for your next exhale. Then use that to gently guide yourself out of the posture. Removing those props. And then come to the long edge of the mat, so you'll be sitting the same orientation that I'm facing you. Maybe your seat off the edge. As we come into a straddle. This is one of my favorite to set up for because I get to build things. So you might come to a seat on your blanket, and getting all my props ready to go. Legs extend out just as wide as feels good for you. If your hips feel still a little too close to the mat, you can fold the blanket a little more, raising you a little higher, or use your bolster to sit on to really lift your seat. Then I like to set up a little block and bolster shelf for my arms to rest on here. We will be in this posture for probably up to 5 minutes. So not too scary, but just giving yourself time here to set up in a way that feels best. I'm at 70% of my edge, not forcing, nothing that's straining or zinging. And then allow yourself to fall into stillness in the posture. Give yourself 3 more rounds of breath in this shape. When it's time, gently lifting yourself out, removing any of your props, all of your props if you're like me and have lots. We'll start to shift our way back to that traditional orientation on our mat for caterpillar shape. So legs extend long in front of you. I'll be seated on my blanket once again. And then before you add any props under your legs, maybe just gently pedaling out your legs here. After that straddle, it can feel really nice. You might even bring in a few windshield wipers, arms supporting you behind your hips, knees falling side to side. Then as you extend your legs long, you can play with bringing that bolster under your knees. And then we'll come into a forward fold, or they call this caterpillar in Yin because it doesn't look quite as flat. You've got some, lumps and bumps happening. So walking your hands as far forward as feels good. Bringing that bolster under your knees. If you need a little more space, you can stack another blanket or pillow there. Just bending your knees as far as feels good. Particularly checking in with your low back. Allow the arms to rest where they're most comfortable. Spines can round here. Checking in with those inhales and exhales as we hold this shape. Checking back in with your breath. Use your next full inhale and exhale to walk your hands back closer to your body, lifting your heart. Then removing your props. You may want the bolster. We'll start on the right side of your mat. Then soles of the feet come to the mat. Removing anything you won't need, lowering down to your back body. From here, arms can come out to a T or cactus shape. And then shifting your hips just a bit to the left. Allow your knees to fall to the right, maybe resting right on that bolster. If you need some more space there, you're welcome to stack the blanket on top of the bolster, or in my knees, it feels really good if I bring that blanket between my knees. So just finding the shape that feels best for you, adjusting your legs any way that you need to. Gaze can drift up at the ceiling or over that left shoulder for a bit more of a twist, and allowing your body to settle in. Next round of breath. Gently guide yourself back towards center. Moving that blanket if you need to. Might hug knees into the chest for a moment. Maybe do a little circle here. Knees drawing a circle one direction, then the other. Just massaging that low back. Then plant the soles of the feet on the mat once more. Shifting your props to the other side. Bolster on the left. If you prefer that blanket stacked on the bolster or between your knees, setting up there. Then allow your knees to fall to this left side. Gaze can drift up at the ceiling or over your right shoulder. Take the time to set up and feel good. And allow your body to settle into stillness. Using your full inhale and exhale. Guide knees back towards the center, removing that blanket if you need to. Hug knees in towards your chest. Maybe doing those circles here. Just a little last movement. Any shapes that would feel good. Then hug your knees in. Maybe forehead comes up to touch the knees. And we'll set up for Shavasana. Now really give yourself some time here to set up. You've already got all the props out, so my thoughts are you might as well use them. Bolster under your knees can help your low back feel a little bit easier to release in this posture. You can use the blanket over your feet, can feel really grounding. Some people prefer it under their head for a little cushion, or under your belly. It can also feel grounding. Or if you just want to go all out, I cover my whole body with it. So settling in. Allowing your body to take up space. Using these moments here to make any adjustments with your props, your body. Get out any of those little antsy wiggles. And then allowing the mind and body to settle in once more. Give yourself permission here to fully release. Reminding ourselves the deep, deep importance of rest. This is all you need to be doing right now. And really honoring your body by committing to that. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. body can remain still. If it feels good and is available to you today, you're welcome, encouraged to stay in this place of rest. If it's time to close out your practice, maybe start by deepening your inhales and exhales, noticing how that expands your rib cage, feeling the rise and fall of your chest. Then you can wiggle fingers and toes, maybe roll out wrists or ankles. You might even bring a good morning stretch, fingertips overhead, toes opposite direction. Then when you're ready, you can slowly guide yourself to a fetal position on whichever side feels best for you. And then gently press yourself back up to a comfortable seat. Eyes can stay soft or closed here. Just relishing these last few moments. Really thanking yourself for showing up today. Committing to slowing down. Honoring your body with those stretches and that rest. Just recognizing how important that is for your body and mind. We'll close with a collective breath. Inhale, fingertips reach to the sky. Exhale, hands draw to heart center. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Thank you for being part of this rad community, and I hope you have a peaceful day.